We have lots to discuss ahead of the NHL trade deadline, all kinds of updates today, including some updates on guys like Tyler Dufour, Jason Zucker, Vladimir Tarasenko, and others. Plus, could we possibly see a huge three-team trade between the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Boston Bruins, and the Vancouver Canucks, sending multiple players in either direction, including Elias Lindholm? That would be very interesting. Busy day of action on the waiver wire. We have a couple of claims and several new players on waivers. We have another signing in Minnesota and lots of injury updates and more coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have tons of news and rumors to take a look at here today, so let's get started. A very busy day on the NHL waiver wire. As I mentioned, we have a few claims and several new players on waivers. Claim today from yesterday is defenseman Joel Hanley, who was on waivers from Dallas. He goes to the Calgary Flames. Of course, we just seen the Flames and Stars make a trade a few days ago involving Chris Tanev, so this is kind of like an add-on addition, if you will, for the Calgary Flames. He's an older player in his early 30s, but doesn't have a ton of NHL games to his name, but he's a very, I don't know how to describe him. I'd say he's a serviceable 6'7" guy. So he brings some depth to the blue line, where the Flames are certainly in the process of rebuilding rebuilding their blue line and moving some guys out. They could use some extra help back there. So it makes sense that they picked him up. Matthew Phillips, former Calgary Flame and former Washington Capital, who was with Pittsburgh after getting picked up on waivers a few weeks ago. Phillips was reclaimed by the Capitals. So now, because they were able to reclaim him here because of the timelines, he can go directly to their American Hockey League affiliate, which is good because they can get him on their roster in time to be eligible to play in the AHL playoffs. So that'll be good for him, where the Washington Capitals likely aren't heading towards the playoffs, but he'll go back to the Capitals organization here. New on waivers today, we have two players in Minnesota, including Vinny Lettieri and Jake Lucchini. The Vancouver Canucks have defenseman Guillaume Brisebois. The Oilers today have a forward, Sam Gagner. That was a little bit of a surprise, but I'll explain that a little bit here. And Max Comtois with the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, I've seen some confusion over that. He's on waivers because he just signed a new contract for the season. So Comtois had been on an American Hockey League only deal. Now he gets an NHL contract to be able to come up and play NHL games. Doesn't mean he's being called up right away, but the fact that he's signing that contract requires waivers. Now, when it comes to the Wild and Oilers especially, and their waiver selections here today, those players may or may not actually go directly to the minors if they're not picked up tomorrow. Main thing I think teams are doing here is giving themselves some extra flexibility ahead of the deadline. So if they're probably working on deals, having conversations around trades, if things actually materialize to go through, well, then they can demote these players to create roster spots. So I think that these are just kind of insurance moves, if you will, from a roster perspective. So they may go to the minors, but it's not a given that they automatically will. So we'll see if there's any additional activity on that by 2 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow. A few other moves around the league involving some roster updates here. The Ducks have sent down Alex Stalock back to the minors. Montreal announced today that Colin White is out day-to-day with a minor injury, I believe, which he suffered in practice. I can't remember exactly what happened. I did hear of I think he had some kind of accident in practice where he crashed into the boards or the net or something and got hurt. Vancouver is getting Carson Soucy back. He will return to action in the next game tonight. The Blue Jackets are making Kirill Marchenko a healthy scratch. So Pascal Vincent continues to make really bizarre roster decisions. Been doing it all year, so why change now? The Minnesota Wild today have extended defenseman Sig Bogosian, who they picked up from the Lightning earlier in the season. He signed a 2-year extension, $1.25 million. There was some talk Bogosian might be a trade candidate, but there was also some speculation that they may want to keep him there. I know there was interest from him to stay there as well. I believe he has already had a property in the area and spends the summers there, so it wasn't shocking that he'd be interested in signing. So that's again, not surprising news, but it means he likely won't be traded now. And a couple of players being held out tonight of action for trade-related purposes. Include another game for Alex Wennberg with the Kraken, and now added to that list is Jason Zucker of the Coyotes. Right now, when it comes to Wennberg, it's believed the Rangers are the front-running team, most likely destination where he'll end up. That is not confirmed, and as of our recording of this video, a trade has not happened as of yet. For Zucker, we'll talk about him a little bit further. This is the first time this has come up, and it is likely he gets traded, but nothing imminent. At least it doesn't appear to be at this time. Calgary Flames forward Martin Pospisil is having a hearing. That hearing is not expected to take place until tomorrow because the Flames don't play until for a little bit here. But he had a nasty game last night against the Kraken. The hearing he's having is for a hit on Vince Dunn, where he clearly, Dunn did not see him coming, hit him from behind, hard into the boards. To me, it was very reckless. And this is a game, or a hit in the game, sorry, that the league would love to see not happen, but it continues to happen. It doesn't happen as much as it used to, thankfully, but he had another, I guess you could say, borderline dirty hit earlier in the game. Like, this guy was just running around, laying the dirty hits out, and he was crossing the line. I'm not sure why somebody in that Flames team didn't talk to him, be like, listen, like, we want you to be aggressive, we want you to be physical, but can you please try to stay within the lines here of the legal play when it comes to your hits? Like, this is absolutely just reckless and unnecessary. Going to put his team in trouble here, in my opinion, if this continues. So I do suspect this is going to be, based on what we've seen recently, like, I would think 3 or 4 games, but I don't know, it looked worse than some of the other stuff we've seen lately when it's been that much. So we'll be curious to see when this happens. We probably won't know until around this time tomorrow what the outcome will be. There was a quick update as well in the 2018 World Junior situation with the Canadian team that's have players facing charges. There was a proceeding in the courts today. I believe all the lawyers that appeared virtually. I don't think there was a whole lot of really news in that sense for what transpired today, but it was reported by requested of TSN that April 3rd, there's going to be a pre-trial conference that will be held privately in chambers, so it won't be known to the public exactly what all went down, but I'm not sure if the lawyers will be allowed to make any comments or anything publicly afterwards. We'll have to wait and see, but it's possible, according to what said, because of the backlog in the Ontario courts, that a trial date could be set on that day, and part of that conference is they're going to be discussing approximately how many witnesses, how long this trial should take, all that type of thing, so they can kind of set the groundwork here for the things to begin, or at least to be laid out to begin, which is going to be some time. So obviously it's probably going to be well into 2025 before this begins. I think that's well documented so far, but we should get a date. Hopefully they don't want to wait too long to set a date. The longer they wait, the more later it's going to be. So we should have hopefully some more updates around that time. That's obviously another month from now, so obviously that's still a ways away. Now, lots of rumors floating around. We saw a trade earlier today with Anthony Mantha going to the Vegas Golden Knights. One of the first dominoes to fall in the forward category, having a resurgent season for the Capitals. Found his game again, put the puck in the net a bunch of times for Washington. Now he's going to have himself an opportunity to go to the playoffs with Vegas and see if he can't land himself his next contract. Like I said in that video, it seems like everybody that goes to Vegas just does well. It's so weird how you don't usually see guys go there and have it not work out. But some other things, other players to take a look at here today. We'll take a look at the Devils. The Devils are playing their first game as we speak, as I record this, under new head coach Travis Green against Florida. They got off to a bad start, 2 goals early. I know the fans are already getting restless there. We know that they're really, really keen on getting Jacob Markstrom out of Calgary, and if that trade does not happen this week, we've been hearing reports from NHL insiders saying that they will continue to pursue Markstrom with the hopes that a trade will happen in the offseason. Now, another connection just to draw everything here together. Travis Green, new head coach, former head coach in Vancouver, which is where Markstrom played for a long time before signing as a free agent with the Calgary Flames. So obviously Travis Green knows Markstrom extremely well. Very well could have been part of the influence here to push them in that direction to want to acquire him. I don't think he'd be the only one. Markstrom's a great goalie. I think there's lots of people around the league that will like his game. But again, just another advocate there, you could say, for him. Now, Pierre LeBrun's reporting that as much as they're going to continue to push for that, if for some reason they get to the point where they feel that that's not going to happen, it sounds like they're going to turn their attention to Linus Ullmark in Boston. We know the Bruins are having a luxury of two great goalies right now. Friedman's been reporting that Jeremy Swayman and the Bruins are engaging in contract extension talks. Now, it doesn't sound like at this point that anything is close or imminent or, like real far along, but they've had conversations. I think the Bruins at the very least understand between conversations between Swayman and his representatives what the framework might look like to get it done, and now they just need to try to work away getting that done, which I have no reason to think it won't. So at some point, if the Bruins do move a goalie, it's believed it's going to be Ullmark. I mean, he's the older goaltender between the two by a fair bit. It makes good sense that happens. So we'll see here. Obviously, the Devils have a lot of work to do to get themselves back where they were last year, and getting somebody between the pipes who can stop the puck with regularity and make those saves when it matters most will be right at the top of that list. And they're not the only team looking for help here. Some other guys to watch. I know with the Mantha trade to Vegas, that's going to open things up for Tarasenko. We'll see. Right now he's still in Ottawa, and it's not a given 100% that he gets moved. There is some degree of interest to stay and re-sign with the Sens, but it's believed if the offer is good enough from another team that Ottawa will want to pull the trigger on that. And of course, Tarasenko has a full no move, so he has some say here. Whether or not that destination sounds like Florida might be near the top of his list. There's some that think maybe Carolina could be in the mix too, because he was close to signing with the Hurricanes in the summer before he ended up in Ottawa. I wouldn't rule out Vegas. Everybody seems to like going to Vegas. Not too many times you hear of a player not wanting to waive his no trade to go there. And as I said in the Mantha trade video, especially where the Capitals did retain half of the salary, they've got room. They can definitely add another player like him, no problem. So I would suspect with a 2nd and 6th round pick being a return on Mantha, Tarasenko's been the stronger, more consistent player. He could generate a better return. I would think that'll bode well for the market on him. Tyler Toffoli and Jason Zucker, as I mentioned, are both out there. Of course, Toffoli with New Jersey, Zucker with the Coyotes. We know Zucker's being moved 100%. They've confirmed this by holding him out for trade-related reasons. I would suspect in Zucker's case, possibly teams like Vegas, Edmonton, obviously, the Avalanche are another team to watch there too. And Vancouver, according to Rick Dollyball, is one of the teams interested in him, as well as Toffoli. Now, Tom Fitzgerald made comments on Toffoli. Of course, he met with the media after doing the coaching change, and he said he was not out there shopping Toffoli. And I probably fair to say that he's not lying about that. He said he's getting lots of inquiries, but he's not shopping him. Really, at the end of the day, you haven't really made enough effort to sign him. So, yes, you're going to get those inquiries, 100%. Toffoli's getting lots of interest, and I know there seems to be an interest there to keep him in Vancouver, but I know I've seen some people make the argument saying, listen, Toffoli's a great player, but he's in his early 30s. He needs a new contract. He's probably going to want a good raise after this last contract he signed was a bargain deal. He outperformed that contract by a fair margin. Does it make sense to take another player in her early 30s who's going to want some term and to go all in on him? I don't know that it does. Good player, yes, but it all boils down to the negotiations. I think it should be more likely that Toffoli moves. We'll see on that. Should know here soon enough. But certainly a player to watch, and a reunion in Vancouver isn't out of the mix. They're looking to add another forward, but I think their prime target is who we're going to talk about next, which is Jake Guentzel in Pittsburgh. There's some rumblings about a potential 3-team trade between the Canucks, the Penguins, and the Bruins. Now, this would be interesting as well, and it could involve newly acquired centerman Elias Lindholm in Vancouver, which would be a little bit of a head-scratcher in a sense. But here's the thing. The trade would basically bring Guentzel to Vancouver, and there are some reporters that don't think Vancouver is the front-runner for Guentzel, and the reason is that Pittsburgh prefers prospects over picks in this type of trade, and they want multiple, grade A level prospects. Vancouver has a few really good prospects, but they're recently drafted guys that they really see being key members of the future and don't want to move them. So the point here, how this could work, is this could be a 3-team trade where they make a trade with another team like Boston, bring in some prospects that the Penguins like, and then flip them to the Penguins for Gensel. So that's essentially how it would work, is the Canucks would get Gensel, probably with money retained, and then from there they would flip Elias Lindholm to Boston for some players that they would then give to the Penguins for Gensel. So going to the Penguins from the Bruins in exchange for the Lindholm piece here could be guys like Fabian Lysell, looking at Johnny Beecher. They're going to ask about Mason Lohrei. I don't know if they're going to want to do that, but there's definitely going to be asking about him for sure. But exactly how it would work, it's difficult to say. But at the end of the day, the Canucks, there were some rumors that they essentially picked up Lindholm from Calgary as Pettersson insurance. I mean, we've seen how much drama was involved in getting him signed. There was some real concern internally that he wasn't going to. This was insurance. We know right now that Lindholm, since has been playing on like a third-line role, not with the greatest wingers, not really producing. I don't know. The Bruins need centers. Maybe they're better off with a high-end winger than a guy like Lindholm. I mean, he had a real hot start. I think it was 2 goals in his first game or something. But then they kind of changed his role. And since Pettersson's been signed, it sounds like they might be willing to move him now. So I know a lot of people thought he was insurance for Pettersson not staying. And I think there's something to that, 100%. If they're willing to move him already, then yeah. I mean, doesn't mean this is going to go down. Obviously, they'll keep him if indeed they're outbid for Gensel and if they can't get the deal done. But essentially, it makes sense that they're not the front runner based on what they don't want to give up for prospects. But if they can get guys from the Bruins or another team that the Penguins really like, then there we go. That's how it could go down as a 3-team trade. So we'll see. That's the big rumor on the market right now. We'll have to see how everything shakes out. Let me know your thoughts on that 3-team trade concept and everything else discussed here today down in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around, and we'll keep you up to date with all the news around NHL Trade Deadline 2024. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.